Let's talk about Nothing Tech, which is a company that's based in the UK and they specialize in making, as of the release of this video, Bluetooth earbuds and phones. And I will try my best to not make any puns out of nothing, but nothing is going to be able to stop me from doing so. I'm gonna go over their product line, which is really only two, and I'm going to go over why I think that they're going to struggle in the US market for a while. And just a disclaimer is that I only own one of their products, and that's the ear stick. So I haven't had an opportunity to test their main product line, but I think that I have enough information to decide if I were to get either of their mainline products. Nothing's first mainline product is the Nothing Ear 2s, displayed here. I didn't include these in my Bluetooth earbuds comparison video because they were not released at the time, because the Ear 1s were the latest release of their earbuds lineup at the time, but these came out after that video, so that's why I didn't include them in that video. But uh, I will say that the ear ones costed the same amount, so around 150, and they weren't really worth it at the time. But I think with the ear twos, they made a lot of improvements that make them more worthy of considering at the 150 price point. I'm gonna cover why I think that these earbuds are going to struggle in the current Bluetooth earbuds market, like in the US at least, when I cover the second mainline product from Nothing. But I will say that these earbuds are actually pretty decent. I mean, I don't own them, but I've tried them before, and I would actually recommend them above a lot of the other Bluetooth earbuds available in the US market. Now, keep in mind that when I'm considering a pair of Bluetooth earbuds, the most important factor for me is fit and comfort. And that's why I think that a good comparison with these would be the Sony LinkBuds S. But these, I would say, are a little bit more comfortable than the LinkBuds S, and the fit is about the same, because these are really light. And if you are able to get LHDC enabled while using these, then that arguably can make it sound better than the LinkBuds S. The category in which these fall short in is, for one, the price. So these retail at 150 on both their website and on Amazon. And because they're still a startup, I don't expect that the price of these earbuds will drop at pretty much any time. While these earbuds do have some competition in the US market, I don't think that the competition is the reason why they are not going to do very well, but I'll get to that later in the video. But the competition that they do have is pretty much the Sony LinkBuds S, which is usually around the 130 to 150 range, so very similar to the Nothing Ear 2s. And they also have very similar functionality, and they sound very similar unless you are able to enable LHDC on the Nothing Ear 2s, then those sound a little bit better. But overall, they're very similar. They sound similar. A and C is very debatable, but they're both fit well and are comfortable, which is subjective. That's at least for me. They fit well and they are comfortable. So these are definitely one of the biggest competitors to the Nothing Ear 2s. But the biggest competitor for me, like in my opinion, are the AirPods Pros. And that kind of leads me into their next product line, which is the Nothing Phone 2. And this is sort of Nothing's gateway to the flagship market. And they're kind of just saying that we want to try to compete with the other phone companies like Apple and Google and Samsung. This is what we're going to bring to the table. And for me personally, it's not very compelling compared to their earbuds because, again, this is for me, it looks too much like the back of my iPhone. And, this is greatly exaggerated, but I feel like if I took off the back part of my iPhone and replaced it with like a transparent back, this is kind of what it would, even remotely look like. So if, that's something that, you're interested in, then by all means, I get what Nothing is trying to do with their whole phone like stuff. And to be honest, how else are you gonna make a difference on the phone market when you're not doing anything different? So this is sort of their way of trying to do things differently by using this clip interface thing, which I mean, let's be honest, like how often are you really looking at the back of your phone? And how often are you, putting your phone down on the table, for example, like face down? Uh, I personally put my phone face up all the time, and if I was to get this phone, then I'd probably turn off all the Glyph stuff anyways. And things like notifications, charging, like it's not a big deal to have it as a light. But if you're into this whole like light up interface on the back of the phone, then by all means. There are a couple of things that makes the Nothing Phone 2 competitive with the Google Pixel lineup. Uh, the first thing is the chipset that it uses. So it's using the Snapdragon uh, processor, while all the current Google Pixel phones are using Google's Tensor chip, which is based on, I believe, Samsung's Exynos chip. But pretty much the whole idea with Google's Tensor lineup is that it is really bad with overheating, and it's not great at efficiency, which is why Pixels have been pretty bad with battery life the past couple of years since they introduced the Tensor chip. So since the Nothing Phone 2 has a Snapdragon chip, it is a lot more efficient, and you shouldn't have as many issues with the Nothing Phone 2 overheating. The other aspect of the Nothing Phone 2 that makes it competitive with Google's Pixel lineup is its battery life. So you can see here 4700 milliamp. I thought it was 5K, but it's currently only 4700, which is still pretty good. It's pretty close to the 5K. And I think for what it costs, it's not bad because the only current Pixel that comes close to this battery size is the 7 Pro, and I guess probably the 8 Pro slash the 8 when those come out, as not released as of this recording. But it has this battery, and then considering its price for 600, it's not terrible. Um, and I think that compared to Pixels, along with the Snapdragon that it still has, it should be a lot more efficient to all of the Pixel lineup. When comparing the Nothing Phone 2 to something like the Galaxy A54, so this is Samsung's budget phone, while the Nothing Phone 2 is Nothing's flagship phone, but they have very similar battery sizes. The biggest difference is probably their chipset, the processor. So the A54 uses not Google, Samsung's Exynos chip, which, like I said, is known for not being super efficient and it could lead to overheating, but it is also significantly cheaper than the Nothing Phone 2. So it's really just a matter of comparing how much you value having an efficient phone with the similar battery sizes, but having one being significantly cheaper if you're going to make up for having a not quite as efficient processor. So the real reason why the Nothing phone is going to struggle in the US is not because of Google Pixel or Galaxy Ultra or Galaxy A54 or whatever, anything like that. It's because of iPhone. And it's only not because, they have nearly 57% of the US market share. It's also because, Apple released the 15 with Type C this year. So the iPhone 15 and then Pro and Pro Max are probably going to be their best selling phones for a long time coming. Because, I mean, let's be honest, how much of a difference is there between the 12, 13, 14, and arguably even the 11? But 15, they changed the Type C because they were forced to by the EU, and they made an action button. which I will talk about in the Apple video. But having an already 57% market share when you're not even making significant changes to the phone lineup, and that number is only going to go up because a lot of people really want the Type C. So a lot of people are going to get the 15 lineup. So nothing phone is definitely going to struggle with competing against that, and also just competing against, like I mentioned, Samsung's lineup and Pixel 2 and all the other stuff. But like really in reality, Apple is not even like a close competitor. It's more like all the other Android companies that are available in the US. I want to cover one last competitor to the Nothing Phone 2, and that is the OnePlus 11. And the reason why I want to cover this phone is because the founder of Nothing, Carl Pei, actually co-founded OnePlus. So the OnePlus phone is available in the US, but it has a very small market share in the US. So I think since Nothing is new and they've like just recently tried to make their first step forward in the US, the OnePlus 11 is kind of like a good competition for it in terms of like a gateway, so that once it passes the OnePlus in terms of like market share, then they can go on to other companies like, Google and Samsung. And after that, then Apple's like the big one. Carl Pei actually did a review video of this phone on the Nothing channel, but he compares it to the phone 1 from Nothing. And since the phone 2 is out now, I think that's a bit of a better comparison because, well, as of right now, they cost the same. It's the price is going to fluctuate a little bit, but overall, I think the experience is very subjective, and you kind of have to search for yourself if um, a OnePlus 11 or Nothing Phone 2 would be better to get if you're looking to get into the Android ecosystem. So overall, I think that Nothing is doing relatively well, but they're going to struggle for a while in the US because people who live in the US just love their iPhones. But I think that making their products available in the US at all is a good first step because it's going to be opening the gateway for people who maybe want to try their products, as opposed to before when it was pretty much only available in Europe and maybe some parts of Asia. But now that their products are available worldwide, it seems, they're going to be doing a little bit better than they were when they only had them available in pretty much just Europe. So it's not looking too good right now, but I do think that in the future they will be doing better down the line.